Hey backers, Mizungu here with a look back at Gameweek 32. We told you Aguero had a great record at Old Trafford. Not that City fans will be rejoicing. We told you Pele would come good. Well, my colleague Devo did. We told you Balassi would get a hat-trick. All right, I'm lying about that one. All in all, things were looking good for us over the weekend in our various competitions until our old nemesis struck again, injuries, particularly to Remy and Sturridge. So the main bulk of this podcast is going to be around late swap, because those injuries, particularly the one to Sturridge on last night when the team news broke, provoked some interesting discussion, and we heard some views we'd not heard before about why perhaps not having late swap was a good thing. We are and remain keen advocates of it, but we appreciate the opposing voices and the reasons that they give. The main one being that late swap might deter casual players who won't be as diligent in ensuring that all their selections play every week. They just like to pick their team, let the cards fall how they may, and see if they get lucky or not. And we can understand the reasons behind this. I mean, there is a risk that enthusiasts, the more regular players such as ourselves, would blitz the non-committed, the casual player, maybe turn them away in their droves, because we would be more likely to be on top of the team news and therefore more likely to win these matchups. The counter argument, however, is how can you expect those of us who take this really seriously to keep stumping up cash when we can't guarantee our players are going to play? We appreciate the nature of variance that exists within fantasy football, but this is variance could be controlled, and it's only one factor. It wouldn't damage those variables overall. Maybe the market will end up dictating this. I mean, we know that there are some providers who are looking at it, such as Mondogo, and maybe it's just a case that some providers are going to go with it, some aren't, and we'll see which proves the most popular. For us, though, for the industry to work, we need casual players to graduate to something beyond casual. It's short-term thinking to think that the market could sustain itself on the ebbs and flows of take it or leave it customers. And that, in our opinion, this graduation just won't happen without late swap, and people aren't going to risk their money. It's as simple as that. So looking back at the action, we spoke about Aguero. He was probably the only bright spot for City over the weekend. Don't know what's happening there. They started the game well enough. A goal up could have been more than one, and then they fell away as soon as United. I think there was a pump up the left-hand side. Zabaleta slipped. The cross came in. Clichy ball rebounded off him. It was a lucky goal, but then where was the resistance or the resilience of City after that? They buckled. United thoroughly deserved their win, and that's the difference. Under Mourinho, you couldn't see that happening. His team wouldn't buckle. Yeah, they'd be more resilient, and that's the problem with City the last few weeks. It looks like when things have started to go wrong, they just don't know how to turn it around. Again, the opposite with Chelsea at QPR. They hadn't played that well. Clock's ticking away. Everyone thinks they're going to drop points, and up pops Fabregas. Apti was wearing a mask for a bit of daylight robbery in London, but Chelsea fans aren't going to be complaining. So where does that leave the teams moving forward? Chelsea are taking on United. I'll speak a little bit more about United in a minute. That'll be an interesting game. City are at home to West Ham, who may not have Sacco, Valencia or Carroll, according to Ben Dinnery as of today. Even West Ham with no attack, would you put any City defenders in? And again, going back to late swap, which ones would you put in? Clichy, Zabaleta, Demichelis? They're probably all going to be rotated, dropped, rested, whatever you want to call it. Will Company keep his place? It's not that straightforward. And so, as I said, United, what a turnaround. This was supposed to be the run of games where they were exposed. They've well and truly turned around that perception that they were playing poorly and picking up points, that they were lucky. The turnaround in form of fantasy production of players like Fellaini and Young has been pretty astonishing, although LVG really stumbled upon this formation more by luck than design. Injuries and suspensions to the likes of RVP and Di Maria forced his hand pretty much, picking players like Mata and Herrera. But he certainly made the most of that luck. Elsewhere over the weekend, our forum had an interesting question. around those kind of not elite strikers, which ones might be good to pick for the weekend. Squad fillers that you could, that you're going to get for good value. The question was around Benteke, Defoe, Murray, and Gomez, who were all in really good form leading into the weekend. And which ones would we select? How would we rank them? Well, Gomez was at home to Everton. Defoe was at home to Palace. Benteke was away at Spurs. And Murray obviously was away at Sunderland. Normally you'd pick the home strikers, Defoe and Gomez in this instance, and the bookies odds. We checked Paddy Power's odds, and they were shorter priced than Benteke and Murray. But in this instance, our view was that Benteke and Murray would. I don't know whether it was more intuition, gut feel, but that's who we aimed for, and luckily enough, we were right, and they both scored. Both got decent fantasy points over the weekend, and the others struck blank. Gomez, he went off injured. We weren't to know that, of course. But that's the beauty of the game. The decisions we take factored in are a mixture of our analysis and our intuition. What else happened? What has happened to West Brom's defence? Keely's defenders have been the staple of many fantasy teams over the past few seasons, so this has come as a shock to many, the way they're leaking goals. There won't be too many selecting them for their trip to Palace over the weekend. So looking at defenders, where may there be value over the weekend? Well, there's only 7 games scheduled because of the FA Cup. Everton, they'd probably be a good team to look at over the weekend at home to Burnley. Southampton, even though they scored a couple at home to Hull, they've got to go to Stoke. That won't be easy. And Southampton aren't a free scoring side. And Swansea, another team that's struggling to score goals, they're heading to Leicester. So there's some good, maybe differential upside league plays there. The intriguing game is Newcastle at home to Spurs. I mean, Newcastle just don't know where their next goal's coming from. But would you trust Spurs' defence? No, this could be 0-0 or 4 each. So we're going to move on to game week 33. Stick with us as the week progresses. We'll have Ben Dinnery's formal injury article for us. We'll have our selections for you, and we'll run over the press conferences and keep updating our injury table. And without late swap, you really have to, if you're putting money down, you've got to be really all over manager's press conference, just looking for any hint, signs. Our injury table, as I say, is as up to date as you're going to get, and they're musts if you're looking at your selections for the weekend, and hopefully put you in a situation where you're not going to have to rely on late swap. So that's it from me. As I say, keep in touch with fantasy football backers throughout the week, and we'll catch up again next week. Good luck. Cheers.